I'd rather spend 5 nights with your mom instead.
That was really good. Hello?
All right.
Oh, hi. Hello, Darren.
You must be Cooper.
Yes, I am Cooper.
All right.
It's very nice to meet you. How was your day so far?
Uh, so far it's so good. Just adjusting some volume here.
So you played Toy Freddy for the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise,
Correct.
and you play in Ultimate Custom Night. Did you also do the lines for Special Delivery?
Is that the one for the phone that Lumix put out? Yeah, I did.
Awesome. Okay, so there's quite a few ones for that one. I didn't realize.
Yeah, there was a lot of lines for that one.
Right. So just got a few questions.
All right.
Have you ever had COVID before?
Nope.
Ah, really?
Nope.
Jeez, good job. Hopefully it stays like that.
That's what happens when I stay here in my little box all the time.
It's true.
No COVID in here.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be pretty horrible for voice actors, to be honest.
Well, and I've been purposely trying to avoid it.
Do you have a favorite character?
In Five Nights at Freddy's?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yes.
I think I can guess who that is.
Yeah, yeah, I'll say it's mine.
Is there anything? Oh, sorry.
And I'll say that because Toy Freddy opened up a world for me that I wasn't in before. So that's why I'll say it's my favorite. It's not just being conceited. It's that role actually did something pretty cool.
In what way did it do something cool? Like, did it give you lots of job opportunities?
Well, it brought me here to meet fans from all over the world. I mean, that blew me away. I mean, I really had no idea what I was doing when I played the role, and then about a year later, a fan found me on Facebook and asked me if I'd signed their like bobblehead toy, and I was just blown away. I had no idea that there was fans or toys or anything like that, and then shortly after that, a couple of interviews later, and all of a sudden, it was like my Instagram blew up.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, Five Nights at Freddy's, it's been out since 2014 as well.
Right. No, I know. I know now about everything. I didn't know when I first did it.
Yeah, because, oh, sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, my friend, do you guys have Target stores where you live?
Not in New Zealand, Sad. Oh, yes, we do, actually, yeah.
Okay, but you know of it. Yeah, so I have a friend that works at the Target here, and when I mentioned it, she was like, oh, we have the bed sheets and the plush toys, and I was just like, what? I was like, so much. It's like I really didn't realize there was such a huge world. It's like when you're a voice actor, you stand alone in a padded box and you do your thing, and you don't really realize necessarily the kind of impact you have when you play a role.
Yeah, I mean, Five Nights at Freddy's, even though it was made 8 years ago now, it's still kept going strong, and they've been releasing new games, and it's
pretty amazing. Yeah,
and
I'm aware of it now.
Yeah, it's retained its popularity for so long. Even though it's such a simple game as well.
Right.
And have you
Stars too?
Yeah, have you ever played Ultimate Custom Night?
I've played it. Yeah.
Have you ever beaten 50/20 mode?
No.
I beat that last week, actually.
Right on. Good.
Sorry.
Major accomplishment, huh?
Yeah, it's very, very difficult. And Toy Freddy is the most annoying animatronic in that entire game.
Happy I could help.
Do you know what Toy Freddy does in the actual game?
Not really. I mean, I like I said, I played it, but I never played it enough to actually like get good at it. So, why don't you tell me? I mean, I
Absolutely.
learned so much from talking to the people that actually live in the game.
I mean, time to put my 60 hours to good use. So, Toy Freddy, he sits in a room on the cameras playing video games.
Okay, right.
Yeah, that's all he does. And then to beat him, you just have to. He plays a separate Five Nights at Freddy's game called Five Nights with Mr. Hugs. You might be familiar with that name.
I know about Mr. Hug. Yeah. Uh-huh.
And you have to block the doors of Mr. Hugs. And his Mr. Hugs can move around.
Uh-huh.
And so every 0.5 seconds and 1 second, the camera is open. Toy Freddy has a chance to kill you if you've not blocked Mr. Hugs in the last 10 seconds. So
Wow.
he's
So you got to be quick.
very quick, yes, like milliseconds quick. It's incredible.
Uh-huh. Cool. That sounds
so-
exciting. Maybe I should play more.
It's really fun once you get good at it, but unless you are thinking of just a little short stint, it takes a while, and it's very
Yeah,
frustrating at
I
times.
can imagine. I was told by my coaches I needed to, if I was going to be in video games, I needed to play video games, and I thought, I already have a job. Just doing this stuff. I was like, I don't know if I have to play the video games. I can just be a better actor.
I was talking to someone last night, and they were talking about how they're almost going out of business since there's so many people coming up these days. And I was wondering if you've even noticed that there's been a surge in voice acting popularity over the years.
Well, yeah, there is. During our first, COVID lockdown here in the U.S., I know it's sort of different than for you guys. That there were a lot more brand new people that were trying it. There was also Hollywood actors. Well, Hollywood actors have already kind of done it, but it was the Broadway actors, the stage actors. They started getting into it, and that's where the competition started to come from. Was that there was more people out there, but if you were a seasoned voice actor, you were still going to be booking jobs way more than the people that were just starting. But when you have trained stage actors and singers coming up, that's when I noticed a little bit that there was just a lot more people. But then that's faded away. Voice acting is a tough business, and what people don't realize is that it's a business, and so you have to be ready to be an entrepreneur as well as an actor. It's basically exactly the same as running any other business, except that you are your own product. And so your manufacturing is you going and training to get better at it, and then it's just a lot of practice. And sticking with it, I'd been a pro full-time for 5 years before I got Toy Freddy, and I trained with one of the very best animation actors that there is.
Wow.
And it was really her training that got me that gig, and also Poco from Brawl Stars.
Oh, Poker from Brawl Stars. Wow, that's a pretty big game, isn't it?
It's a pretty big game. It's not that big here in the U.S., but boy, I got fans from around the world, and in particular from South America.
Right.
It's made me work on my Spanish.
Hola.
Hola, amigo. ¿Qué pasa?
Not learned that one yet, sadly.
That's what's up?
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
So, how long have you been doing voice acting for?
Professionally for 9 years.
9 years. Wow.
Mm-hmm. But I've been, I was a musician, and sort of being a musician, I got into recording, and then when I bought my house, I started building a recording studio in my house. And then randomly I got into pirate radio, locally here in Boulder, Colorado, very randomly. And I ended up getting my own show. And after about a year of doing that show, some friends were like, oh, you could do voice acting on this website or that website. And so I said, okay, I'll give it a try. And since I already had a recording studio and could record my voice, and had been taking singing lessons and stuff, so I had some training. And I'd been an actor as a kid too. I jumped in and started getting booked right away.
Wow. So, just like that?
Sort of. I mean, I was on kind of the low-level site. I really had no idea what the industry was or how to make it in the industry. I just sort of stepped onto this one platform and got booked. And I went through some phases. That first year I thought I was great, and I wasn't. I was okay on a crappy site. And it taught me some lessons, as I started trying to step up into the different parts of the world. I thought it was going to be the same thing, and I started getting some real humbling moments. And that's when I started to really reach out to great coaches. And, one of the takeaways I can give you from this is like, there's lots of coaches out there for any field, not just for voice acting or anything, but go straight to the very best ones.
Okay.
And even though they'll be totally expensive, they're worth it. And every time I trained with a top coach, I turned around and made the money back immediately.
Wow.
Because I got better. And like with training with Debbie Derryberry, who, I don't know if you know who she is, but she was, she's been in basically every Pixar movie. She's been in pretty much every Disney movie since like the early 90s.
Wow.
Do you know Jimmy Neutron?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, she's Jimmy Neutron.
Oh wow, really? That's cool.
She's been lead characters on a number of series. And so once a month for about 6 months, I trained with her, and she really got my like animation acting into shape.
Awesome.
Yeah, and there's one thing she told me, and I don't even think she really even meant it to be profound, but it stuck with me for years, and it was the thing that got me both of those auditions, or both of those jobs. And she just said, "Ramp up the acting, Darren," and I was like, "Oh, okay." So just like deliver bigger. So each time when I did those auditions, I did what I thought was good, and thought, okay, this fits the bill, and I was like, all right, now I've got that one. Now let's do the Debbie Derryberry ramp up the acting version. And that's what got me the gig.
Awesome. I mean, like acting like just putting more emphasis into your words, or kind of in your recording studio, kind of
just bringing more energy than I put into it before. Like really, like do it, and then do it just as big and uninhibited as possible. Put everything into it.
That sounds like really good advice.
It is. I mean, for really everything, it's like if you're gonna do it big. It's like Eddie Aikau. Go big or go home.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Did you use voices.com?
That was where actually that's where I got both those gigs. Yep.
Yeah. So it was Scott that reached out to you?
Correct.
And was it just an audition?
Yeah, it was a audition. I don't know how many people auditioned, maybe 80, something like that.
Wow.
Which is sort of normal for a gig of that precedence.
I've got actually the questions that I've written down on another tab. So could I just quickly take a photo of it?
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Awesome. Okay. What are some other voice acting jobs that you've done in the past?
Some others? Well, I mean, there's been thousands. And most of them you'd never hear. Most voice actors make their livings doing, corporate videos. And honestly, I really like doing a lot of them. I mean, I did an engineering safety and training video recently that was actually really fascinating. Voice acting is a job where you don't really realize it from the outside, but it's a job where you learn a lot about a lot. Because you're always reading about some cutting-edge software, or you're reading about some engineering technique, or you're reading about some cutting-edge medicine or medical device or something like that, as well as my first couple of audiobooks were actually like classic science books. And it was, it's just amazing that like I often just get paid to learn. So to say what roles have I done that you might have heard? Well, I don't know. Most of the stuff is U.S. based, but I have done some jobs in Australia for sure, and I think New Zealand too. But I just can't quite place what I did. And most of that stuff was, like I said, it was like corporate training kind of stuff. Someday, if you get a job in a high-rise, you might hear my voice.
That'd be very interesting. Like,
yeah,
the person that's telling me how not to die in an elevator, isn't that Toy Freddy? That'd be very funny one day.
Right. I know him. Yeah, I've done a bunch of audiobooks. I got into them when I first started. Summertime was a little slow for business, and so I would just do an audiobook as just for practice, just as something to do, really. And then I started getting good at it. So I've done 32 of them now. I did one that just came out that I'm happy to promote. And it's actually, it was a total buyout. Like, I have no stake in the game in saying this, but I just loved doing it. The author was absolutely outstanding. His name is Kyle Massa, and the book is called Monsters at Dusk, and it's a collection of 10 monster stories.
Huh.
And they're really cool. He has this amazing sense of humor. They're all kind of lighthearted. But what was really neat is that it's 10 stories that are all completely unique. They don't rehash plots or characters or even the themes. They're all really different. And imagine any kind of monster that could exist in the world. Not just like big, hairy, nasty things that are coming to kill you, but like your coffee addiction could be a monster. Or maybe there's just a world of monsters that's like a parallel universe, and they're just doing their thing and they're hanging out together. But it's not like anything insidious. And all of these kind of things exist in this book. And some aspects of it are even just like the monsters within us. We all have that bit of a demon, that thing that asks us to do the wrong thing, and there's stories around that too. It was also really fun because there was like 40 different characters in it, so it really pushed me. But his character development was so cool that I didn't even feel like I was trying to come up with the characters. They were just laid out in front of me. So that was a really fun one to do.
So you think that's one of your favorite ones?
I think it's probably my best audiobook as far as fiction goes.
Right.
It really pushed my limits, but at the same time, it's when you're a voice actor, you're really only as good as the words on the page. And if you don't have a good script, it's hard to bring life to it. But if you do have a good script, then all of a sudden you have this great world to work with. And that book was just excellent. So it was a real pleasure for me to work on.
I will definitely check it out. Is it on Spotify?
You can certainly find it on Audible.
Okay.
I don't know if it's on other platforms, but I know it's there for sure.
All right, I'll go check it out. It sounds, from you, it sounds like it's amazing.
I think it's great, and it's just so well written. And the stories are so clever that even if you don't like my voice, you'll like the words.
Okay, I'll definitely check it out. It sounds amazing. So, have you ever? Oh, I already asked that. Do you own any like plushies or merch of Five Nights at Freddy's at all?
I don't actually. I try to keep my world simple, so I tend not to collect things. I'm a studio junkie, so I've got like a bunch of guitars. But that's sort of my thing. But otherwise, as far as the paraphernalia goes, honestly, I haven't stepped into it because I kind of still don't feel like it's real. It seems like this other world that other people live in, and I'm standing on the outside of it looking at it like, that's so bizarre. And yeah, you're listening to me. That's been a weird part of the journey, to know that I've been here in my house in Colorado speaking into this thing, and what comes out the other side has gone all over the world.
Yeah.
It's a bizarre feeling.
I'm afraid I can't say the same for myself, as you can.
What do you mean? You're talking into that, and you're already. Oh, nice. That's cool.
His eye's a bit wonky, but he's trying his best.
I probably should get one.
They're
Scott
very.
should send me one. Hey, I should got one up.
Yeah.
Hey, Scott.
Come on, Scott.
I need the T-shirt, man.
Yeah. So I'm about to show you if my computer works this time.
Okay.
An image that is of Toy Freddy that a lot of people have seen before. How do you feel about this?
Oh yeah, I've seen it.
Oh really?
Yeah. I'm hip to some of this stuff.
Yeah.
I like the dramatic lighting.
Can't say it's very cursed, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm really a bit off topic there.
Yeah, that's all right.
Have you met any of the other voice actors, like in any Comic Cons?
Haven't been to a Comic-Con, but I did go to a voiceover conference last August and attended a workshop that this woman was teaching on character acting. And as she was giving her little preamble at the beginning and saying who she was, she said she was in Five Nights at Freddy's. I was like, oh! So I went up and said hi to her afterwards, and then ended up meeting a couple other people at that same conference.
All right, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Have you... Oh, sorry. I've not do many interviews, so my brain is a bit fried.
It's all right. I know you just got out of school.
Yeah, true. Did any of your family members, like, did you ever tell them, like, do you have any nieces or nephews or kids that you told that, oh, I was in this game, and they completely freaked out?
Yes. I have two nieces. They're currently 12 and 14. I did this recording in 2018, I believe. Might have been 2017. Either way. And after it came out, and I told them that was me. They're not really video game players, but it gave them a lot of street cred at school. like everyone at school was like, "Whoa, really?" So that's kind of fun. And when I told you that story I was telling you before about the first guy that wanted the autograph on his bobblehead, I took a picture of that and I posted it on Facebook, and all of my friends that had little kids were blown away. And they said that they had street cred with their kids because they knew Toy Freddy. But then some of them were also mad at me. They're like, "Oh, you're the guy that my kid's imitating all the time." It was kind of funny. Yeah, all of that. That was a very mind-blowing week.
I mean, the game is so huge. I mean, if I'd known you at the time, I would have been like, "Mom, Dad, can we go to Darren's house, please?"
Yeah. I know sometimes I meet kids that really get a little weird about it. And it's like, you know what, I'm just a dude, I'm just a guy with a job. It just happens to be a job that I do stuff that everyone thinks is cool. But, I just go to work every day like everybody else. I think of myself more like a plumber than a recording artist, I just show up and get the job done for my clients. And that one day happened to be creating the voice of of Toy Freddy.
Yeah. So your voice acting, is it completely full-time or is it a part-time job?
Well, it is full-time, and my voice really only lasts for about 4 hours each day. So one would think it's part-time. I'm part-time in the booth, but then there's a lot of other stuff, looking for work, basically, like marketing and following through with invoicing and all the aspects of a business that are kind of a grind, but it's the stuff you literally get paid for. So it's what you got to do. So it is a full-time job. It's not really a 40-hour week. Other than I also consider exercise to be part of the job, because you have to be fit to do this job.
Yeah, I mean, using your vocals that much for it to be a full-time job must be incredibly tiring.
It is, and to do things like video game characters, video game sessions are exhausting. You're putting so much energy into those few words that, at the end of an hour, I need a break.
Do you have a favorite voice line at all of Toy Freddy?
If you get jump scared, I get jump scared.
That was really good.
Well, it's me.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I had to work on it too hard.
So
yeah, I sound just like that guy.
Yeah. Is it like something you can just like switch on and off really easily? Because that sounds like exactly how it was like
yep, it
4 years ago now. Wow.
I've got a weird brain that can just do that.
I mean, I think that's an awesome brain, to be honest.
It's a cool superpower. I really didn't know I could do it until I started voice acting. I can turn them on and off like switches. And sometimes for, that like Toy Freddy's a pretty unique voice. And for things like, foreign accents and stuff, I've learned, and this is a technique throughout voiceover, you come up with a cue line. So it's that line that puts you into that sound. So it's like some kind of a characteristic sound. So for different accents and some other characters that I do, even though they're not like named characters or anything, but like for certain types of commercials or whatever, I'll call on these other characters that I've made up that sound like regular people. And they all sort of have their name in my head, and they all have their little cue line, so I can get into character so I don't slip into my own voice while I'm doing it.
Right, that's really cool. That's a really good explanation for it as well. So what accent is Toy Freddy?
Well, here's what Scott said in the audition brief. He said, "You're like 40 years old and kind of washed up, and you're totally stressed out." And I was like, oh, so he ain't just a cute little teddy bear. And so that was actually kind of fun. I like the fact that he was like an anxiety-ridden, stressed-out teddy bear. And I could kind of get the whole sense that he's trapped in this place and he's freaking out because you never really know what's around the next corner. And all of his nerves were frayed. But he's still a teddy bear. So he's got the cute voice, but he's also got this sort of edge, but like of terror and fear and just exhaustion. And so that's where I came from with that.
And every time, that's probably the best way. I tried every time I got killed by Toy Freddy. I'd say the people in my chat, I can't like pick like what the voice sounds like. It's like, and what you just said is right. Like a bear that plays video games in a midlife crisis.
So yeah, and I guess if I modeled it off of anything, and this would only be just a little bit. But I grew up in the Los Angeles area, so I went to Disneyland a lot as a kid. And there's one ride. I can't even remember the name of it, but it was like the Great Bear Jamboree. It's not even really a ride. It's just sort of a place where you can go sit and watch a show. So you sort of take a load off for a little bit and sit in the air conditioning because it's hot. And one of the main voices. And the whole thing's animatronic too, so it may have even been where he got the idea for this thing. So there's all these bears that kind of move around like this, and their jaws move in a way that totally doesn't sync with like the way it, and this is also like the 1970s and 80s, so it's the stuff was pretty low tech, and one of those voices was kind of like that.
Right.
Big and round, and like the voice swoops up and down, and not like the way any person would talk.
How do you think the health and safety was in those animatronics back then?
Not as good as it would be now.
I mean, I could smell a lawsuit from a mile away.
Yeah, it's like you're lucky they didn't catch on fire. Those things were broken down a lot, but they were all mechanical, so there was motors in them and stuff. They would totally catch on fire if anything were to go wrong.
Yeah. So I had a petition for a couple of voice lines that a few people that I know wanted Toy Freddy to say. Is that alright if you could do that?
Let's see what they are first.
Okay. This first one is one that my sister came up with. It's, "I'd much rather spend 5 nights with your mom instead."
I like your sister's sense of humor.
Thanks. I'll tell her that. She'll be very happy.
Okay, can you tell me the line again, please?
I can put it in chat if you want.
Yeah, that'd be great. I do much better if I read it.
There you go.
I have a few friends that would laugh really hard at this.
I'd rather spend 5 nights with your mom instead.
That was really good. It fits so well. It just fits so well with Toy Freddy.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I think I'm going to start saying that. My new ringtone.
It's something that goes so well with Scott's humor in the game.
Indeed. Yeah, that's really funny. So the next one has to be that good.
Oh, I don't know if the next one is that good.
Sorry, my little table was collapsing.
I'll put it in chat just now.
Okay.
I can't spell. Boom. There you go. I don't think it's as good as the first one, but it was one that lots of people really heavily wanted.
Okay, that's cool.
I don't know, man. Sounds like a skill issue.
And that is also something that would really fit in the game.
It would. Yeah. I mean, frankly, they both would.
Yeah.
Although the target audience might not necessarily get the first one. But you never know.
12-year-olds these days. It's scary. I would never want to find myself with a group of natural 12-year-olds. Sheesh.
Oh, tell me about it.
Kids are horrible these days. It's so scary.
Yeah, and you have access to so much cool stuff. I mean, God, I wish I was your age right now. It's like just the fact that you can do, I mean, you have like a media production world in your pocket.
Yeah.
I mean, I never would have gone to school. I would have been making movies all the time.
That's all I want to do, honestly. Just make animations, film stuff.
And you have the tools. I mean, just the fact that like, you know, the Adobe suite exists. And like, I didn't have any of that, you know. I had an Atari console with a little joystick, watching little 8-bit tanks move around. And
That feels, for some reason, even though it's not my, like, it's really not my kind of generation time zone, it still feels really nostalgic for some reason, because I think I only found out what computers were when I was 7 years old.
Okay.
So, and the devices, and now I like an iPhone. I mean, really, how did the people come up with iPhones and everything?
Well, I mean, seriously, that blew me away, you know? I mean, when that came out and then the world was connected by it, it's like, whoa. And now we can do things like chat with each other literally across the world like we're doing now in total real time with no delay.
My nana would have a heart attack if I told her that in the 60s.
Well, I mean, oh yeah, you know, it's funny, growing up in the 70s, you know, we had a phone on the wall with the curly cord, and we would joke about, wow, what if video calls existed? And back then, you know, there was no like caller ID or anything like that. You just answered the phone and you didn't know who was there. You're like, hello? And you wonder who it is. And so everyone sort of assumed that video calls would be like that. So like if you just got out of the shower, you'd be answering the call, but you wouldn't know who was on the other side. No one ever anticipated the fact that you could actually just screen your calls and know who was calling.
Yeah, I mean,
Or, you know, set it up like we do now.
it must have been mind-blowing. I mean, like, what was your reaction when the first iPhone came out?
I was stoked, actually. It was such a useful tool. To be able to have so much information so close at hand, although the connectivity wasn't great. But at the time I had a job, this was basically 2 or 3 years before I became a voice actor. And so I had a job where I was flying and driving all over the United States, buying people's rare coin collections. And I was a rare coin dealer before I was a, yeah.
Sounds like an interesting job.
It was a super interesting job. Yeah, very interesting. And one that requires looking up all kinds of stuff. So it was cool to be able to look up all the little details that I needed to and get like up to the second prices for like gold and silver and things like that, except for the fact that it didn't work everywhere. So, you know, I'd go into someone's home and expect to be like, oh, let me just dial that up. And it was like, oh, I don't have any reception. Well, now I'm a host.
I mean, yeah, it was truly world-changing. Probably the most world-changing. I mean, I guess you guys did have the internet for a couple decades before then, right?
I had my first email address in 1998. I was 28 years old. That was the first time that I actually like sent an email
Jeez.
for work. And before that, like, like in college, hardly anyone had a computer, but we had this room in the library that had a bunch of old Macs that you could put the 3.5-inch floppies in, and we could like write our term papers on those things. So that was the only real computer experience I had. In the 70s, my dad had a computer at his office, and that was this huge thing. Like, it probably wouldn't even fit in my booth. It was this enormous thing. The discs were like that big around, and it had like as much power as like your Casio watch. You know?
Wow.
But it did like all of their invoicing and stuff like that. You know, and they had these games on it, and I actually really kind of loved playing them when I was like 7 or 8 years old. But it was all stuff where, like, you know, the green letters came up on the screen and there was no graphics whatsoever. And you basically just answered yes or no questions, hitting Y or N, and you made your way through these little, like, choose your own adventure kind of games.
Oh, that sounds really cool.
They were actually really fun. I'm sure my parents were stoked because I would, you know, they knew I'd be okay for like a couple of hours while they got their work done.
Did you learn many cool facts from it?
No. I mean, the game I like to play was a game called Hunt the Wumpus. And so you basically, you're in like a catacombs kind of area, and you're finding this thing called a wumpus, which is just sort of this mythical creature that I always imagined looked like a capybara or something like that. And sometimes it would kill, well, most of the time it would kill me before I had the chance, and then I'd try again, and I actually caught the wumpus a couple of times. You know, and it would give you little cues and be like, okay, you feel a breeze coming from the right side. Do you go to the right or do you go to the left? And you choose. And then you go down there, and then, you know, it just goes through this little series of things. It's kind of fun.
I love capybaras, for one. I love just coconut dogs.
They're my favorite rodent.
Really? Wait, are they considered a rodent?
They are. They're the largest rodent.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Here's stupid me thinking there was some kind of breed of dog.
Nope. They're an aquatic rodent that can be like 200 pounds. My grandparents' friends had one that lived in their pool and like lived in their backyard. And actually that guy, geez, he was one of the original animators for Disney. He actually,
oh, wow.
He wrote 101 Dalmatians and did whole lot of the animation for all their stuff, like mostly in the 50s and 60s, early 60s. So the industry runs in the family? Well, when my dad was in like the 4th grade, he was friends with that guy, guy's son. So that connected my grandparents and them. That guy's name was Bill Pete.
Ah, okay. I'll search him up.
So, but I mean, he actually taught me how to draw without knowing it, because he did all these kids books after he left Disney, and so he started doing that just before I was born. And every time one came out, he would send one to my sister and me.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, it's great. I have most of the family collection here, and he used all colored pencils, and I thought that was really neat. So I would always draw on colored pencils after that, try to imitate his stuff. That sounds really cool, and I mean, it's amazing to know people that are that talented, and you don't even realize, and they're just a guy my grandparents know. You know, he was just this funny, quirky old guy. You don't realize that he's like this major player in animation. I mean, Disney has really changed like the course of animating over the years. Oh yeah, I mean they developed it. You know, I mean, have you ever heard of the school called Cal Arts? No, not yet. It was the animation school that Disney created, I believe it was in the 50s. And there was this group of guys called the 9 Old Men, and those were a bunch of Disney animators that taught the classes there, and Bill was one of the 9 Old Men. So it's like, basically, they created a generation of animators. It's like the Jedi Council. It's totally the Jedi Council. Yeah, that's exactly it. Okay, so this is probably my last question I have for you, and then I'll let you go. All right. What type of microphones and equipment do you use? All right. This one here is a Sennheiser MKH416. It's sort of an industry standard for voiceover. It's a shotgun microphone. And if you've ever seen like a movie set, and there's the guy holding the big boom mic, and there's the thing that looks like a hedgehog hanging off the end of it. Yes. inside the hedgehog is more than likely one of these. And the reason for that, it was actually created as a dialogue mic because it's like a spy microphone. It's really has a really focused polar pattern, and so you can point it at things and hear them from a long way away. So that's why they created it, so you could hold it off camera and point it at the actor who is speaking and be able to pick them up clearly without picking up too much other sound.
And did the hedgehog thing that they slid over it, was that just to filter out like background noise?
It's to filter out wind noise.
Ah, okay.
Because otherwise wind noise will destroy your audio track every time.
Yeah.
So, and I keep this little foam thing on here just for a little bit of plosives, but honestly, I never talk directly into it. It's, after a while, you'll just learn, like, you talk like this all the time, it's just going to be a lot of noise. And then this guy here, this is, I'll turn it so you can see. This is a Mojave MA200, and it's a large diaphragm condenser microphone, cardioid pattern microphone. You may have heard of a microphone called the Neumann U47.
Not yet.
It's the granddaddy of all microphones. It came out in the late 30s, and it was a design that really has never been beat as far as that kind of thing goes. One of the problems with the Neumanns, though, is that they don't make them anymore. And the old ones, there's tubes in them, and no one's making the tubes anymore, so all the old ones are eventually dying. So there's new companies like Mojave who are basically recreating that design, but in a modern manufacture situation. And this thing is great. I mean, it's awesome for everything. And I do most of my audiobooks on it because it's really precise and delicate, and you can be really nuanced with it. Whereas this thing's kind of like a blunt instrument. You can just hit it hard all the time and it still sounds good. So it's punchy like for commercial stuff. But for more delicate artistry, I use this one. And then they plug into a little Focusrite preamp. Nothing too exciting in terms of that, but it's super transparent, as they say. You just don't hear any coloration or anything. It's just clear. And I like this thing a lot, especially for bang for the buck. It's awesome. And then I use Pro Tools to record in.
Okay. So thank you. One last thing. How, like, is there an estimate of how much your entire room that you record in cost?
Like this booth, this booth was my pandemic project. Built it from the ground up. All of this stuff together, if you include the computer too, because it's part of the deal, I guess, and the monitors, it's $5,000 or $6,000.
Wow, and that's US dollars as well.
6 or 7, yeah, somewhere in there.
All right, well, thank you so much for agreeing to this interview, Darren.
Oh yeah, my pleasure. It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Thanks. And so this, yeah, you're the voice of Toy Freddy Ultimate Custom Night. Hopefully there'll be some more games, because I'd love to see that you're in any more games.
I hope there's a TV show.
Oh yes, that'd be really interesting. Well, the FNaF movie is coming soon, so that
cool.
You never know.
That's right. Well, no one's reached out to me, so maybe you can reach out to them and be like, "Hey, I know a guy." Yeah, anything, you know. I mean, when they even reached out to when the person from Lumix reached out to me to do that thing, I was really honored to be able to continue with this. It's been a real treat to be part of this franchise, and it's just led to so many cool things, like being able to talk to you across the world right now about this fun game that so many people like to play. It's, you know, as an artist, and I'm a visual artist too, and what's worth way more than just the money you make from doing this stuff is seeing people connect with your work. And when you see people just really like get taken by the power of this art form with the video games and all the characters that are in it, not just me, but like everybody, and you see people reach out and everyone's so kind and talking about how they love the game so much, and seeing how people really love the fact that, you know, all the effort that you put into it has just come together and worked. That's the best feeling in the world. It really is. Seeing everybody connect with it and bringing, without trying to sound silly, but to bring so much joy to so many people around the world, I really feel like I've done way more than my job.
It's very deep, and it's very touching as well, because it's very true as well. So yes, thank you very much for this interview. Does Toy Freddy have anything to say until he signs off?
I'd rather spend 5 nights with your mom instead.
That's perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much,
Toy
Darren.
Freddy out. I gotta go watch Stranger Things. I'm almost done with the season.
Oh, really? Good luck with it.
Yeah. All right. Thanks.
All right.
All right, Cooper, I really appreciate the time. Thanks for reaching out.
All right. Thank you so much for joining.
All right. Cheers, man.
See ya.